Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hot Seat. It's the only Dynasty show that is a certified inferno, and we're back once again with another 2026 rookie mock draft. And we got one of the kings of Devy over here. We got Jack. You can find him over on Exit at Jack CDCTT. Wow, that's a month. I believe it is a shortening of your surname, though, I believe, Jack. Right. So Jack's at the show. Of course, you might know him from the Dynasty Hotseat Devy show. Jack, great to see you again, mate. We weren't talking that long ago, so it's great to see you twice in a week, probably, right?
Yeah, really nice, really nice. And this time we get to chat about all those players that we didn't chat about last time. We did a mock draft on the 27 and 28 classes, and we left all of these guys out. So yeah, excited to chat. Doing well. Good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to get into it. So no time like the present. Let's go. Let's mock this 2026 draft class, shall we? All right, let's go, Jack. We got our fan tracks board up. We're hoping it's going to behave, but it is notorious for not behaving. So we're going to hope that it works well, and the audience have something to view as we go along. So, Jack, let's go ahead and let's just start right at the beginning with, not like the 101 like that people would maybe expect, but do you have overall thoughts in this class in general about what we might expect to see in this draft? What kind of weapons are we going to get? Is it strong at certain areas and weak at others? What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting class because I think we've spoken in the past about the 2026 class having a lot of high-end quarterback prospects available, which was probably the case, 2 years ago. We thought that was definitely the case. Whereas in reality, we've hit the end of the 2025 season, and we're kind of down on those quarterbacks. The quarterback class is thin and desperate, really. And the same could be said for the running back field. It's like it's a very top-heavy running back field in my opinion, as well as there being, arguably again a top-heavy wide receiver crop. So the way that I sum this class up currently, without any draft capital, obviously, and not knowing for certain who's declaring and who's not, is that there's a top group of players that I love, and then there's a lot of players that I really like. And I'll make it very clear where that tier break is for me right now. So really for Dynasty players, my advice, or what I'll be doing in my Dynasty leagues, is looking at a cutoff point around the 104, 105, where I would then, at this stage of this NFL season, gives you a bit of freedom to be like, I'm quite happy to trade away my first round pick if it's going to be after that point.
Fair. And let's see which players fit into that slot. And let's begin at the top with 101. Now, you may have seen that Jack is wearing a special hoodie with a particular team on it. Is that an indication for you for any of these players coming out in this draft? Like, I know, are we pushing anyone up for Ohio State, or who are we going at 101?
Yeah, I'm not going super rogue and pushing any Ohio State third string wide receivers into the first round, don't worry. And no, so the 101 for me right now is Jordyn Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. This guy in 2024, obviously we'll chat about 2025 in a minute. 2024, 75 receptions, 1,101 yards, which is one of my favorite statistical anomalies there. 10 touchdowns, and formed like a dynamic duo with Sam Leavitt, the quarterback at Arizona State, and really kind of blew everybody out of the water. He was not that high recruited, went to Arizona, smaller power four school. Yeah. I'm not trying to insult Arizona State at all, but it's a school that have had some controversies in the more recent past, and therefore have kind of been rebuilding that program. And Arizona State kind of shocked everybody in the Big 12, made it to the college football playoffs, took Texas to the very, very limit, and unfortunately, in my opinion, didn't quite make it over the line, and Texas conquered Arizona State just at the end. But Jordyn Tyson, was missing from that game, and the
Yeah.
big headline at the end of that was, what would this game have been like with Jordyn Tyson? He's a dynamic receiver, he's really athletic, he shows really good route running and excellent hands. He's had a slight injury in 2025, as well as his quarterback Sam Levitt has also been knocked out of all contention this season. He's I guess someone that we maybe thought could be a 2026 quarterback, but is definitely going to be returning to school. Which school, we're not certain. But still, Jordyn Tyson's kind of picked up an injury. Arizona State have fallen off a cliff, but Jordyn Tyson has worked his way back from injury and still played. He's worked his way into contention. He's been on the field when maybe some players in the past would have shut it down for the NFL draft. So good character traits, good all-round wide receiver prospect. I really like this guy.
Do you have any concerns, like long-term? I know these people, they're obviously kids, they're super young, but do you have any long-term concerns about the injuries? Or they're sort of been slowly building up, or do you think it'll just be one of those things where it's a couple of things here and there, but he should be fine?
Yeah, it feels like you say, one of those things that just tends to happen. He's had a couple of injuries that haven't knocked him out for an extended period of time, so he's not had like a serious knee injury or anything like that. I know back problems. The headline was that he missed the big games, and I think that's the disappointment rather than I think I'm absolutely not worried about his injury record. Small injuries that it would have worried less about if he hadn't missed the playoffs, and obviously as soon as you go out of the playoffs, that's your season over. So his timeline for recovery, people kind of lost interest in.
Fair. Yeah, absolutely. So that's him locked in at 101. And where are you going next then at the 102? Still within your range of players you're happy to take, obviously.
Yes. So this is a Superflex draft, but I'm still, as you may already know, or you may come to learn to know if you embrace the Dynasty Hotseat Devy show as your go-to Devy stop, as you should. Definitely a wide receiver guy. Firstly, the primary rule is there are usually at least 3 wide receiver starting spots plus your flex spots, and it's a more reliable position for us to project to the NFL. I think it's easier to see traits that translate from college to the NFL, especially at schools that have a good wide receiver coach, good offensive coordinators, good head coaches, know how to develop their wide receivers. And Ohio State is definitely one of those. Now, I am biased here, but I am going to take Carnell Tate, the top 26 wide receiver at the Buckeyes. Now, if we're talking about lineage and rule of thumb, Ohio State currently has a strong crop of wide receivers that they have put into the league that are doing well for their NFL teams and for your dynasty rosters. So we can touch on Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr. maybe less so, but you've still got Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. There's a ton of Terry McLaurin. You've got Ohio State receivers all over the place that you're happy having on your dynasty roster. And I think Carnell Tate is the next guy that is a lock, along with Jordyn Tyson for first round draft capital. And the questions we were asking about Carnell Tate going into 2026 was like, can he step up as Egbuka left, knowing that if you don't watch a lot of college football, Ohio State have a guy called JEREMIYAH Smith, who is he was a freshman last year and stepped onto the field and dominated. So it's kind of like, what's Carnell Tate's role going to be? How's he going to cope? Because he's not going to be the number one guy. The things that at Ohio State, you can't really leave any play, like defensively, you can't scheme one guy out of the plays because you've got such good weapons. And Carnell Tate is just the next one of those guys. What we wanted to see was how he would establish himself, and he's added big playability to a repertoire that already has incredible hands, really good route running, a good release package to create separation. And this season we've seen him streaking away from defensive backs, like creating not just 2-3 yards of separation, and sometimes that's what you want to see, because you want to be able to create separation in tight windows and win contested catches. But we've seen him streaking, 5, 10, 15 yards wide open. And it's not necessarily because the defensive back has made a mistake or fallen over. It's because he's managed to shake them. And that's been really exciting. And obviously for fantasy football, that is gold dust. If you've got someone who can break open 15 yards, you're taking that to the house unless he trips himself up. So yeah, Carnell Tate is an excellent wide receiver, and he's very clearly and very close to Jordyn Tyson as my 102.
What would you say? You obviously mentioned the huge lineage of the Ohio State wide receivers. If you were to compare Carnell Tate to one of those guys that you mentioned, who do you think he might be the closest to? In my head, I'm like, is it Terry McLaurin maybe of all those guys?
Potentially. Terry McLaurin feels like a very different receiver in the NFL than he was watching him at Ohio State. I think if I'm comparing Ohio State like time in college, it's Garrett Wilson, a guy that operates predominantly on the outside, but has the athleticism and speed to kind of move across the field a bit, but not someone like Ibuka or JSN, who, the movable chess piece that can play literally anywhere. I don't think you're going to play Carnell Tate out the slot very often. So, he's not going to take on that kind of role that JSN has in the NFL or Emeka Ibuka, but he's someone who stylistically is a bit more similar to Garrett Wilson, but they're still quite different, I would say.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pin him down to one. He's certainly an amazing player, and getting him at 102 is fantastic. So let's see who you're going to go then at 103.
Yeah, so 103, and this is where consensus maybe is leaning towards this guy being the 101, partly because of the scarcity of position and the value of running backs. But I'm going to take Jeremiah Love here, the running back out of Notre Dame. Now, Jeremiah Love is a top prospect. He's an excellent running back with explosive power. He can house a 99-yard touchdown, which he has done. He had a couple of soft tissue injuries that I was slightly concerned about going into the 2025 season, and he has completely eradicated any fears that I had. He's been healthy, he's been dominant, and that's in an offense where Notre Dame, like notoriously a good running team, they're strong at developing offensive linemen, but they completely turned over 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen this year, and it hasn't really slowed Jeremiah Love down at all.
Do you know what I really like about Jeremiah Love? And it might seem like a weird thing to say here, but I like how good his teammate Jadavian Price is. But I like knowing how good Jadavian Price is, and then seeing just how much better Jeremiah Love is. I think that shows you what he's doing with the exact same situation, the exact same scenario, the exact same everything. And he's blowing Jadavian Price, a good running back, completely out the water. He's just, whenever I'm looking, I'm reviewing the notes I've got on players, so many of my notes on Jeremiah Love are written in caps. Because I'm just like, oh my God. He catches the ball, spins, and goes for 54 yards for a touchdown. These highlight plays all over. Do you think he's going to be one of these rare running backs that gets first round draft capital, or do you think he slides to the second?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he deserves it. I think he should get first round draft capital. Now, you look at Ashton Ginty, who went last season, he went as high as 6 in the NFL draft. It almost feels unkind to say this about Ginty, because he's not having, if you drafted him 101, you're not overly delighted. I feel like Jeremiah Love's got a better dynasty profile than Ashton Ginty. I think Jeremiah Love's all-round skill set, his usage in the receiving game, his hands are better than Ginty's. And he's also pretty capable of trucking over a guy, which is Ginty's, his biggest asset is his size and contact balance. So, yes, I believe that Jeremiah Love deserves first-round draft capital. Whether he'll get it depends on what the NFL decides to do. There's zigzagging on running back value and where they should take running backs. So, but I can't see him slipping past. There are some teams some offenses that are pretty near complete and need a running back, and you just have to look at some of the key running backs in the NFL. to see how they change and or complete your offense. You look at Jonathan Taylor at the Colts, is, you know, certainly the first 8 weeks of the season put that offense over the top. I think JEREMIYAH Love can do that for a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see where he ends up. It's going to be pretty soon where people are sort of mocking dream landing spots and things like that. I think Love's going to be great no matter where he goes, but apart from the Jets, obviously they'll ruin him. So let's move on to our next pick, which is 104. Who are you thinking at this position?
Yeah, so just to draw a line after those three, though, I think you'll see mock drafts at this stage of the season, hopefully on this channel, not on any others, where any of those three could be the 101.
Yeah.
This next guy, I feel like his ceiling right now without draft capital is behind all three of those guys. These three are in a tier of their own. But at 104, I've got the wide receiver out of USC, MAKAI Lemon. This is a guy who I was very excited for coming out of high school all those years ago, and he kind of flattered to deceive. But USC as a whole kind of flattered to deceive for a couple of years. And this season, MAKAI Lemon has exploded all over the shop. In every game, he is effective and efficient, and he's one of those guys that is really, really good at everything without having that one trait that makes him elite. Is that that's how I feel? I don't know if you've watched a lot of him.
You loads.
Yeah, and he's so much fun to watch. I think this guy again has first round NFL draft potential. You see how wide receivers go in clusters in the NFL draft. You get a group of, a run of 3, 4, sometimes 5 receivers going in that late teens, early 20s. I think MAKAI Lemon is as good as some of the guys that have gone in that range in the last couple of years. He's a really versatile wide receiver and on an offense. So similar, you talk about JEREMIYAH Love, like making another really good player look not quite as good. MAKAI Lemon is making the other wide receivers at USC look not quite as good as they are, because he is just standing head and shoulders above everybody else at the moment, in a really fun offense as well. So I'd definitely recommend catching some USC tape as you prepare for the draft, because MAKAI Lemon's been a lot of fun to watch.
He's been unbelievable. He's been one of my favorite players to watch this year in college, and this is where I think I'm against consensus here. He's my wide receiver 1 in this class. I just have loved watching him so much, and I just see such a clear path with MAKAI Lemon, with his skill set, the way he plays, that a team is just going to absolutely love him. Like, he could come in and immediately be a wide receiver 2 on a team, and then kind of work as well. Kind of what we were talking about with Igbuka, but Igbuka kind of fast ruled it a little bit just with the injuries and things like that. But imagine you put like MAKAI Lemon, like, I'm not sure the Rams would be absolutely perfect, but like him and Puka would be so good, like so cool together. I think that would work really well. So I would just think at the moment he's my wide receiver 1. We have to wait and see with draft capital, with everything, but he's impressed me so much this year that I just feel like I can't put him anywhere else. I just love watching MAKAI Lemon. Yeah, you're right. If you've not seen any USC or any MAKAI Lemon, just like go out and watch him. I've got no idea what his measurables are, but he kind of doesn't look the biggest guy, but it doesn't hold him back at all. He plays bigger than he looks anyway, right?
Yeah, he's got really good ability at in contested catch situations. He's able to, he's not daunted. He's not the tallest guy. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy, but he has an all-round package. He's honed his traits, and he really knows how to manipulate defensive backs and use leverage to his advantage in order to create separation. So, yeah, really excited player. I think that idea of him being like a 1B to a 1A, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown kind of thing from a couple of years ago, that would be an absolute nightmare to try and scheme against.
You just know when he's drafted, whoever's on commentary is going to be like, when life gives you lemon, all that stuff. So it's all going to come out. It's all going to be fantastic, Jack. I can't wait to see. So he's locked in at your 104. Now, is this where we hit our cutoff? Is this where you're like, right, this is the 4 guys I want, or do you have a 5th guy as well that's in here?
But this is the cutoff. But the only question mark around it is because most leagues that we're talking about are Superflex leagues. There has been like a QB1 who's kind of established himself in my mind for, certainly in terms of who should be being looked at the top of the draft. And by nature, that means this quarterback is likely to go within the first 2 or 3 picks of the NFL draft, probably the first pick. And that obviously changes this guy's value. But we saw that with Cam Ward. And if you've got Cam Ward on your roster at the moment, you're a little bit disappointed. And there are players taken after Cam Ward that you'd actually probably rather have. You can't trade Cam Ward for Emeka Egbuka right now. You probably can't trade Cam Ward for Trevion Henderson right now. And those are players that would have gone after Cam Ward in your draft. So it basically depends on your roster build and how desperately needy you are at quarterback. Because the next guy that I've got is Fernando Mendoza. Now, you've already joked that the Jets will ruin any running back that goes to them. The Jets would probably also ruin Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback, if he ends up going there. But they're winning a few games, so maybe they won't be in a position to draft him. We shall see. But Fernando Mendoza has, gone to Kirk Cignetti's Indiana and kind of been the face of their revolution as they've fast-tracked that kind of leap from also Rams mediocre Big Ten team to suddenly undefeated, and as we record, the number 2 team in the country, headed to the Big Ten championship game to take on Ohio State next weekend. So he has grown and developed and also had a spotlight on him that he didn't have when he was over at Cal. And he's matured. He's an older quarterback prospect. He's not, someone who has 3 years of eligibility coming out now, but the touch he shows on his passes, the intelligence in the pocket. He's not a rushing quarterback. He will pick up some yards, but he's not, we're not talking about a dual threat quarterback by any means. And that's, again, feeds into the fact that, this is Superflex, but he's halfway through the first round, and this is the first mention of quarterback. So it's a guy that I'm looking at cutting off at 104. Those are my 4 top prospects. Where if I've got one of those top 4 picks, I'm not really interested in trading them. If I am entering the playoffs, which I guess is when you're looking to trade away your first round picks in 2026. So this is a good point to pivot. This is where I'm happy to trade away a 2026 first round pick. And even controversially, we've spoken about on previous occasions, Mags, you and I have spoken about the value of the 2027 NFL draft class. This is where I'd be very happy to trade away a 2026 first and get a 2027 first back if someone is looking to kickstart a rebuild.
Yeah, the Mendoza thing is, I can't quite wrap my head around it, because whenever I look at like the notes I've been taking throughout the year, watching the games and the scores that I'm assigning players, Mendoza is right up there at the very, very, very top. I still don't like him. I don't understand. I have to forcibly be like, yeah, you've earned points in my system here because of the way that you're playing, but I feel like he's not being caught out. I think that's why I'm super interested to see what happens against a truly, truly elite team in Ohio State. If you've got, gun to my head predicting what's going to happen, I think he's going to have an absolute shocker. And I think Ohio State are going to batter Indiana. I know you like hearing that, but I can see a 2, maybe even 3 interception game, because my big thing with him is, I've done this a few times. If you're watching him, as soon as he takes the snap, if you pause whatever video you're watching, you can tell where he's going to throw the ball immediately. And if I can see, there's no way Ohio State can't see that. I don't know why no one else has. I know he's had problems with interceptions before, but he just stares. He's like, he just stares there, and that's every time the ball goes there. So I'm just like, that doesn't look good to me. So I wonder if that will affect his draft capital. If he goes out and has an absolute shocker against an elite team, what happens then? Or What if it's the opposite and I've been wrong the whole time? I don't know, Jack. We'll have to wait and see. But I think he's absolutely fine to put in for now. Are you predicting an Ohio State demolition like me?
I'm not predicting a demolition, but I do think Ohio State will win. And it's interesting with Mendoza because he is having such a great season. Now, Indiana, for those that don't know, Indiana haven't had the toughest schedule going, but they did go to Oregon and beat Oregon fairly handedly. Ohio State will be the best defense that they play. And the best defense that anyone's statistically, Ohio State have the best defense. Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator there, for those that remember his horrendous stint in Detroit. But he was actually quite a successful defensive coordinator for the Patriots. And he's got that defense humming. So if Mendoza manages to pick that defense apart, he will win the Heisman Trophy and he will go 101. That, if he picks apart Ohio State and Indiana have a good run in the playoffs, the hype will be out of control. And there are enough quarterback needy teams that this guy's going to go. So either way, I feel like Mendoza is going to be the first quarterback off the board in your dynasty drafts. And I agree with you. I don't really want to be the one taking him.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. So he's locked in. It's, again, you have to kind of trust the QB process as well in Superflex. So he's locked in at pick number 5. We'll see how many other quarterbacks join him in the first round, but for now he's going at pick number 6.
Yeah, so this is another quarterback. Now there's a real question mark over whether this guy is actually going to be in the 2026 draft class. All the rumors at the moment suggest that Ty Simpson from Alabama is going to be a 1-year starting quarterback who commits to the NFL because the hype is there. Now, this is the only guy that I believe could rival Mendoza as the top quarterback taken overall.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not fully in love with Ty Simpson as a prospect.
Yeah.
He was beaten out. So sorry, just for clarity, to give the full picture, Ty Simpson has been at Alabama for quite a while. He was there under Nick Saban, and he didn't win the quarterback job. He lost out to a few different players, including Jalen Milroe. He has stuck around as Kalen DeVore has taken over as head coach, and he has finally won the starting job, which wasn't a guarantee this season. So this guy is experienced at Alabama. He knows how the playbook works. He's worked under Kalen DeVore for a couple of years now. This is the first chance we've had to see him do anything. So when you talk about quarterbacks growing and developing, we don't really know where Ty Simpson's starting point was. And from that point of view, this has been a really good season because he hasn't looked like a first-time starter. He's looked composed. He's looked in control. He's able to throw players open, which you want to see your quarterback throw your wide receivers open. He's been able to throw all over the field as well, which you don't often see from a first-time starting quarterback.
No.
The playbook has not been limited for Ty Simpson, certainly since week 3. And there are some really promising signs, but I just don't believe we've seen enough and he's played enough to then go to the NFL. Can you, like, Alabama is high pressure. Like, don't get me wrong. College football is absolutely insane and the pressure on players is ridiculous. But to go somewhere like a New York team and be the quarterback and be the face of the franchise after a maximum of 17 starts for Alabama, and that's assuming they make the college football playoffs and they go all the way to the national championship game. I don't know if that's enough. We've been burned by Anthony Richardson before, and Ty Simpson is not certainly doesn't have as high a ceiling as we thought Anthony Richardson would have. So yeah, Ty Simpson, if he goes in the first round, he's going to go here. This is one of those things where the quarterback scarcity makes them valuable. It's another guy I don't want to draft, and I'm quite happy to sell the 106 if this is the guy that's going to be going there.
I'm also just quite happy to, at this stage, kind of just trust the process of if they're a 1-year starter, they're not going to be good, and just take the gamble of selling them. Sure, you might get burned sometimes. Like there are people that come out and like what Joe Burrow was a 1-year starter, was he? Come out and burn you like, but most of the time it is your Anthony Richardsons, your like the list goes on and on and on from recent players like Cam Ward. Well, Cam Ward wasn't really a 1-year starter, but in a high pressure, he was kind of a 1-year starter, right? It more often than not does not work out if you don't play a lot of college games. And I would love Ty Simpson to go back with the NIL money. I don't see why you wouldn't go back. But I suppose if you're told you're going to get first round draft capital, it's kind of hard to say no to. I just wish that he would, Jack. It sounds weird to say, but I wish he would.
Yeah, I agree. And Phil, my co-host on the Devy show, would agree. He's an Alabama fan, and he would love to see Ty Simpson return. I think there's two things here. There's if you're being told you're going to be first round quarterback, you kind of go to the league, but also the 2027 quarterback class has some headline names. Now, we've been wrong about quarterback prospects every year, but there are some names where the value is like the name value, the brand value means that, Arch Manning is likely to still be a first round quarterback unless he has a complete disaster in 2026. So there's more competition to be a top quarterback taken off the board in the NFL in 2027 than there currently is right now in 2026.
I've realized two things about Ty Simpson. One's not really about Ty Simpson. I now understand why Jalen Milroe went and declared last year, because he was probably told you're not starting next year, mate. We're happy with Ty Simpson. Two, Ty Simpson's the guy that dropped the ball before the end zone, right? I've only just clicked that last season. He was the guy that went in the long run, the quarterback, and he dropped it before going to the end zone. That was him, right?
Yeah, it was. He but thankfully not that many people are picking up on that highlight tape just now. He is banishing that memory.
Yeah, that's maybe for the best. Sorry for bringing it up, Ty, if you're watching. Sorry, I'm sure most people are over it now. So let's roll on. We're gonna fire into your next pick, which is the 107. Who are you going to go with, Jack?
Yeah, so this is where we enter those players that I really like, but I don't love. There are flaws with all of these players, and their draft capital variance is huge. Like these guys could be first round picks, they could be day 3 picks. There's so much variance at this stage. But a player that I have loved for a long time is Antonio Williams out of Clemson. So this guy is a senior. He is 5'11", 190 pounds. So he's not the biggest guy. He's not an ex-receiver. But for someone that size to be the red zone threat that he is insane. He is a bully in the end zone, despite his slighter frame. And he's not tiny, but 5'11" is not the kind of guy that you typically target every time in the end zone. But Antonio Williams has had a few injury problems, so that is a knock on his profile. And Clemson's offense has just been on a steep decline for the last 3 seasons. We thought that this year would be so much better than it was. But Antonio Williams is a silky smooth route runner, and he just manages to get himself open and win against contact. Like, he's not afraid of a physical corner. He'll take press coverage and he'll beat it. He'll, be able to create separation in the corner of the end zone and be a really safe pair of hands. So this is a guy who's got huge touchdown upside, in my opinion. He's really fun to watch, and he can be a quarterback's best friend. Like, you think of those receivers or tight ends that are able to run those kind of short to intermediate routes, but then take the ball, to the yard after catchability is great. Sorry. I think Antonio Williams is that kind of receiver. He's a good, solid, dependable guy with a high upside. And a high floor. If he gets the draft capital, this is a guy I'm going all in for in the first round.
It's just such a shame watching the Clemson offense, and you just see like just little glimpses of all these guys. But Antonio Williams in particular, for me, just stands out in that team where you're like, wow, like why can't they get that going more often? Like,
Mm.
I think he's super shifty. His hands are really, really good. Like you said, he's unexpectedly good in the end zone. If only they would get there more often, like that would be great. But yeah, Antonio Williams is a guy that I was kind of surprised not to see on the. I don't believe he appeared on my last show in the first round. I thought he was definitely going to appear. And you're right. I think he's put enough tape on there that when he does get the ball, it shows you that he'll do well. It's not his fault. He can't. He can't throw 4K club like unfortunately. So yeah, I think this is about right for Antonio Williams. And you look at the whole Clemson team, you're like, well, how is this? Like, yeah, how's it not working?
Oh, it's insane. Clemson have 3 wide receivers that I really, really like. All in 3 different draft classes, and none of them are really, last season they kind of ate each other up a little bit, and that's understandable where the offense is kind of a bit clunky. Everybody's sharing the ball around. Antonio Williams went down with injury at the end of last season, and this was to be his comeback year. And he started the season really strong in an offense that was struggling. But Clemson as a program, this isn't a college show, but Clemson as a program, I don't know where they end up or what the turning point could be, because they're on a downward trajectory. And some of the decision making, player development wise, Clemson have basically taken their 4th wide receiver, Adam Randall, and bullied him into becoming a running back, which I cannot fathom Adam Randall's decision-making process there, because he does not have the frame to be a running back in the NFL. He's 6'2". No. He's tall, and he's not that chunky. He has the ability to be a productive college running back because Clemson has theoretically a high-powered offense. But I don't understand the decision-making going on there, and Cade Klubnik just hasn't put it together in the way that we hoped he would.
That is interesting. I wasn't fully aware that he was like a wide receiver before, because I'm just looking at my notes on Adam Randall, and one of them is like very tall. Like that was one of the notes I had. It's like he's like very tall, and I wasn't sure if he was like, is he definitely a running back, or they're just like, what's going on here? So that is interesting. He was there. Stephen, let's not forget. I still believe in Tyler. It's not a Tyler Brown show. I still believe. Let Jack, all right. I like Tyler Brown. We'll move on though. We got Antonio Williams locked in. We're going to move on. Who's coming up next for you?
Yeah. Next, you can tell I'm a wide receiver guy, and this maybe comments on the running back class being a little bit shallow. The next guy I'm taking, and a guy that I have just enjoyed watching so much in MAKAI Lemon's shadow a little bit, is Jacoby Lane, the other USC wide receiver who is 2026 eligible. Now, this is another guy who I think we can safely say MAKAI Lemon is going to declare for the 2026 NFL draft. Jacoby Lane, we are nowhere near as certain on. And partly that's because if he stays at USC, he could be the MAKAI Lemon of 2026. He could be the main guy. Who knows what's going to happen at USC? There's so much up in the air, and we'll touch on the quarterback a little bit later, and one of the reasons why. But Jacoby Lane is really exciting, really explosive athlete, really shifty, and just an all-round really good wide receiver. Plays maybe undersized than his frame is. He can get skinny, he can get shifty, and feels like he's a player who can make a defender miss in ways that he shouldn't be able to, and that's a great thing to see. That's a great trait to have. It's open space tackling is difficult when this guy's around.
Yeah, it's weird. He's one that I think every time I watch USC, I just get so transfixed on MAKAI Lemon that you kind of do forget there are other people there. I don't have a huge amount on Jacoby Lane. A couple of my notes over and over again seems like I really like his hands, so he must have quite good hands in him. But yeah, I don't have too much on Jacoby Lane. He'll be a guy that once the season finishes, I'll have to go back and re-dig in and try and ignore all the MAKAI Lemon plays and just look at Jacoby Lane instead. So he's a lovely pick there. You got a couple left in the first round. Where are you going to go next?
Yeah, so a prototypical X receiver, Denzel Boston, senior at Washington. This guy's 6'4", 210 pounds. He plays his height. He plays his weight. He is a strong guy. He is going to rip the ball away from you. he's gonna explode out of his stance and beat you at the line of scrimmage. He's a really tricky guy to defend. Now, Washington, he's been Washington's main man, the guy that Demond Williams looks for, the quarterback over there, and the stats will kind of back that up. He's had a really big 2025 season. He's someone that has caught, therefore, NFL attention a bit later than previously. But this is, Washington's the place that has developed quite a few NFL wide receivers, certainly.
Yeah.
A strong class that also included Rome Odunze and
Polk and McMillan were there, right?
That's it, Polk. Well, yeah, I'm a New England Patriots fan, so I don't like to talk about Polk too much. He really, really let me down. But yeah, we were excited about those three wide receivers, and Denzel Boston was kind of is in that vein of someone who has clearly learned and grown and developed as a wide receiver. But he's a bully. He's a big bully wide receiver, which we don't have many of in this class, and so he's going to be coveted, I believe, and he has the talent to back it up.
My favorite thing about him, and it's that he doesn't do one of the things that annoys me the most about these big bully wide receivers, is that he goes out of his way to high point the ball. I'm like, yes, thank God. Like, because so many of these big bruisers will just kind of barge in front and then wait for the ball to come in, and try and catch it in their chest instead of using their hands. He doesn't want to body catch. He wants to high point it. He wants to use all of his length to his advantage. That's maybe my favorite thing about Denzel Boston. And, in the NFL, that's going to be such a good trait to have, because you try and body catch it, it's just never going to work out for you. So I really like that he's got that high point ability.
Yeah, and you see it all across the field, which I think is quite good. He's not just a boundary X receiver. When he is making those catches, it's all across. I can just picture him doing that, high pointing the ball all across the end zone, across every letter of Washington in that end zone. I can see him making a catch there, and then also in the corners. So he's going to be a quarterback's best friend. And he plays with Demond Williams, a smaller quarterback, so he obviously is someone who is a quarterback's best friend, but also is someone who can get open for someone that can't see that's a really patronizing way of
picture Kyler Murray, right? It's like
exactly. And I think Denzel Boston's great.
Yeah, me too. I think he's going to be a really, really fun prospect coming out. Now, you did mention earlier, Jack, that the running back class is shallow. It's not the SH word, I would say. But are we going to see any other running backs in this class? We got 3 picks left. Where are you going to go? Are you going running back, wide receiver? Do we see a tight end? What's going to happen?
Yeah, we are going to dip into the running back well here at the end of the first round. Obviously, for running backs, the draft capital is could be such a wide variance here, but we have actually seen running backs kind of beat the day 2, day 3 draft capital problem. Sean Tucker's had some monster games in the last few weeks. So here there's a couple of running backs that kind of on an even footing. So I thought I'll put the Michigan running back second, and I'll stick with Washington and pick up Jonah Coleman, the running back who plays alongside Denzel Boston. And this has been like a 1-2 punch, really. If Washington are going to hit you on the ground, Jonah Coleman's going to do it when he's fit. And if they hit you through the air, it's Denzel Boston. And Coleman is really deceptively speedy, but he's a strong guy who has a ridiculous number of touchdowns. Part of that is because Washington have lent on him, and in college you can lean on your running backs when you overpower, when you're mismatched against your opposition, you don't get in the NFL too often. When you're clearly mismatched, you lean on your running back. So Coleman's stats are a little bit padded, but he's a really strong, consistent, efficient running back. Someone that is very happy to run you over, but can escape and show that like lateral agility when needed. Not elite at that, but it's definitely there.
You know what? That's again, you're almost like you're reading my notes. I've got like in there like he's shiftier than you think, and actually a couple of times this year shown some pretty good hands as well. Like nothing special, but I think it's always nice whenever you can sort of just like check that box. Be like, can he catch if needed? I think it's a yes for Jonah Coleman. We don't see loads of it, but he's definitely shown it before.
Yeah, and it's nice to you can be judged on things that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is. If we see that you haven't caught any passes out the backfield, we'll worry about whether you can. So yeah, good to tick that off.
Yeah, absolutely. So Coleman's locked in as the second running back here. You did say you're going to mention a Michigan running back. Is he going right now, or is he going a little bit later?
Yeah, he's going right now, and he's probably a more talented running back than Jonah Coleman, but he has also had season-ending surgery, and that's Justice Haynes, who was previously at Alabama and transferred to Michigan this year, and actually has had a really strong season. It was a really good move for him to leave Alabama and go to Michigan. Michigan have been beating the teams they should beat and being competitive against the teams they maybe shouldn't beat until this last weekend, when of course they got absolutely destroyed by Ohio State for the first time in a while. So Michigan get their credit because they have owned us for the last few years, but they really missed Justice Haynes in that game, and Haynes, if you were looking at his traits, he could be the best running back in the class. He is fast. He has home run ability. He's shifty. He has really good hands out the backfield. He's got everything. You can see everything on tape. If you're Haynes's manager, social media manager, you're cutting up the tape and you're putting on an absolute blockbuster highlight reel, because you can see everything just from this year, let alone what he did at Alabama. Unfortunately, he doesn't put it together every week. We don't see it on the most consistent basis. And this injury is quite a serious one, unfortunately. It's like ruled him out of the whole season. I believe it's a knee injury, which is not great for a running back.
No, it's really not. Yeah, I know that they are, knee injuries are a dime a dozen now, a little bit, and players can come back from them a bit easier, but it is obviously a little bit concerning. You know what I've seen with Justin Hayes, and this, it sounds like a slight, but it's really not, because I actually really liked the tape on this player in college. I see quite a bit of like a Zach Charbonnet kind of style to him, where in college Charbonnet was doing that. He was running with people, he was running people over, he was really good with his hands, and just looked a really, really good player until he ended up getting drafted just in that backfield where he was sharing a lot. But I think Haynes shows a lot of the qualities that Charbonnet did, and hopefully get a better landing spot than Sharps did. Although he's starting to warm up a little bit now, I suppose, Charbonnet.
Yeah, that was one of those good NFL landing spots, not so great fantasy landing spots. But just to correct, it's Haynes's foot. He's had surgery on his right foot, so maybe not quite as serious, not quite as concerning as I believed it to be. But yeah, I like that comparison. Someone who has kind of an all-round package, and I was really excited for Zach Charbonnet in that draft, and unfortunately Kenneth Walker has also maintained how good he is. So Haynes could be higher in this mock draft. He probably will be in certain people's boards, but I kind of need to see how he recovers and see it on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. And he's locked in at 111. You got one more pick left of the first round, Jack. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, so I hinted at this earlier, and I'm going to take JEREMIYAH, the quarterback at USC, because he has been incredible this season. And he has grown and grown as a quarterback in ways that maybe I didn't believe he could. I think Lincoln Riley is the head coach at USC, for those that don't know, and he is, the quarterback whisperer of college. He's had some amazing quarterbacks under his tutelage, and JEREMIYAH in his first year, well, he kind of took over the job partway through a season from Miller Moss and looked exciting but quite raw. And then we were immediately questioning whether he was actually going to hold on to that job, whether he was going to maintain the trust of Lincoln Riley, because he didn't put everything on tape. He was a little bit loose with the ball. He wasn't super efficient, and I just think he's grown so much in this season. And I saw I read somebody's article about JEREMIYAH, and they were saying if he has, if they'd kept Juice Robinson, who's a big boundary X receiver that went to Oklahoma, firstly, how good would that have been for this offense that would then have Juice Robinson, Jacoby Lane, and MAKAI Lemon? That would be 3 wide receivers that perfectly complement each other.
Florida State, sorry, was it not Oklahoma?
Florida State, sorry. Sorry. But he was the kind of, like, if maybe then it was if he recruited him, like, how helpful that would have been for MAIAVA in terms of pushing for a Heisman candidacy, as well as, pushing his name up NFL draft boards. Now, it's a position of scarcity, like we said. Quarterbacks that get taken high will then go high in your dynasty drafts. And I think this is a guy who's worth a punt at the end of the first round if he gets good draft capital.
Yeah, he's one that has impressed me as time goes. Obviously, I've been so impressed with MAKAI Lemon. You kind of have to be a little bit impressed with the guy throwing him the ball as well. Yeah. But just scattered in throughout my notes as I'm going by, it's just like again, a big things in caps, be like, oh no, what are you doing? Like, just like, what is that? It's like, it just has that like mistake in him sometimes, which is a bit of a shame. But around that, it's like, oh, like, this is really nice. Shows really nice touch through the ball, like pretty decent like escapability as well, which is always very important, because he's probably going to go to a bad team. A lot of these teams that are bad is because they don't have a quarterback, so you're going to need to be pretty good at escaping. So I like taking a shot at him at the back end of the first round, and that does bring us to the end of round number 1. We're not going to go through a full round number 2 with you, Jack, but what we are going to do is maybe give me a couple of names that you think, you know what, I really like this guy. I wish I got time to mention. You wanna fire out a few names to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's if you're in a tight end premium league, there is at this stage in time a standout tight end that's kind of head and shoulders above the others. That's Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. When you're looking for a productive tight end that is experienced in catching the ball and running a variety of routes, not just being a safety valve. He's a great safety valve for Dante Moore, but he's not just a safety valve. This is the kind of tight end you want on your dynasty roster. So if he gets decent draft capital, he's a guy that's not going to just be a blocker. So yeah, if you're looking for a tight end, this is a guy that is really reliable, really exciting, really interesting to watch. In terms of running backs, the big name that obviously isn't in this draft, or theoretical big name, is Nicholas Singleton, the running back out of Penn State, who was the highest recruited running back in his class, which was the same class as Trayvon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Nick Singleton has flattered to deceive in his time at Penn State, but he still has the traits.
He sucks, dude. I'm sorry. I do not like. I heard so much about Nick Singleton for years, and every time I watch him, like, he's just not as good as Kaytron Allen. Like, his teammate's so much better.
No, I agree with you there. I feel like Kaytron Allen has shown that he is a better running back and has put. Here's the conundrum. Nick Singleton has the traits to be the better NFL running back. Kaytron Allen has actually honed his skills into what NFL teams want to see on the field. So Singleton is a guy who I don't believe will get drafted highly enough to be that relevant dynasty wise, but he does have the traits to sparkle. If you're looking for someone who, like a bit like Kayshon Boutte, and obviously there are different reasons for their draft capital tanking, but you think about how late the Patriots picked him up and how he's been a valuable asset to your dynasty rosters. If you've got 10 starting spots, he's been a really useful player. I feel like Nick Singleton could develop into that kind of guy, and what have we seen this season with running backs? Kamini Vidal is suddenly
Yeah.
super fancy relevant at the Chargers because of an injury. So Singleton has the ability to become a backup somewhere and therefore benefit from those kind of scenarios, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's running back is next man up, right? It's just whoever's healthy, we'll take him. If you got a pulse, we'll put you in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then wide receivers. Oh,
yeah, sorry. No, sorry. Go on. I wanted to circle back to something. Well, let you do your wide receiver first.
Yeah. So there's a few wide receiver names to know. Elijah Surratt, the senior wide receiver at Indiana, really talented wide receiver. I mentioned Juice Robinson. He's now at Oklahoma. Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver at Alabama, he's had a really productive year this year. He on tape just is everywhere. He has, this is a guy who was at Washington again with Kalen DeBoer, transferred over to Alabama, has learned, how to, obviously he knew the offensive playbook because he was with the coach, but he's learned how to establish himself in a room that has more highly recruited stars and has started to become quite productive at the end of this season. And then Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver who has gone to Texas A&M. This is a guy who he sparkled. Well, he more than sparkled at NC State in his freshman season, and then was completely mismanaged in his second year in college. To the point where we just asked, where's he gone? And so he transferred out to Texas A&M, and I was skeptical about that move to Texas A&M. The Aggies haven't developed any wide receiver prospects in the way that we hoped they would for quite a while, but he's been phenomenal. He he is the kind of guy that you just want the ball in the hands of. He's not your ex boundary receiver, but he is a polished route runner. He's really polished his release package into a proper weapon. He's able to create separation in all stages. And we spoke about, those wide receivers that are chess pieces that could be moved across the board, like Emeka Egbuka or JSN, at the high end, that's, Puka or Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is the profile of player that Casey Concepcion is. So he's a guy that I definitely, if you can acquire extra dynasty picks in your second round, this is a guy that I would be targeting quite heavily. His draft capital could vary. We don't know whether he's going to declare. We don't know whether he's going to come out. We don't know how highly he's going to be drafted. But this is a guy who could be, well, I don't want to say first round, but let's just say there is no cap on his ceiling, and there's no cap on his floor either. He could be an undrafted free agent. There's a wide range of outcomes for this guy. So yeah.
I've loved watching him play. In particular, he's turning a lot of things. He's obviously got really good at punt returns, and he's using that skill now in the open field as well, which is great. He's someone I'm at the minute, the way I've been impressed. If he hopefully does get the draft capital, but he's impressed me so much that I'd be happy taking him sort of back into the first at this stage. But you're right, you don't know what's going to happen coming from NC State. You don't know, has he impressed enough this year? I think so. I hope he gets good draft capital because I love watching him play. I do want to circle back quickly. You did mention him earlier, Dante Moore. Is that because you think he's going to stay, or you think he's not worth drafting?
Yeah, no, that's because I believe he's going to stay at Oregon for another year. Yeah, there are some players obviously that are eligible for the draft who maybe won't come, and partly that is developmental. For Dante Moore, he started a year at UCLA and then transferred to Oregon knowing that he would be sitting for a year. So this is a guy who I believe is quite clued up. He's quite wise about what he wants to do with his future. I believe that Oregon is probably the best place for him to have another year's development, and NIL wise, he's going to earn enough money that's not going to be a problem.
I've got one more player who I'm not seeing anyone talk about, and I don't know if it's because maybe I'm wrong and he's actually coming out in 2027, but if not, Trinidad Chambliss is really good.
Yeah, Trinidad Chambliss, very exciting. He's burst onto the scene from you think about fairy tale stories, and this is a guy who was a Division II quarterback last year, and transferred to Ole Miss to be the backup to Austin Simmons, and so Austin Simmons was the guy that was supposed to be the next big thing at Ole Miss, the next guy to take over. So Jackson Dart obviously left for the Giants, and Austin Simmons lost that job pretty quickly. Now, Trinidad Chambliss, I don't know when he is draft eligible. He has, he's right on that boundary. He's definitely played 2 seasons. Whether he's played the 3rd season, I'm not sure. He's exciting. He is risky with the ball.
Yeah.
He is risky with his body. He puts himself on the line. It feels like he can get that ball out really quickly. He throws that ball with electricity.
Speed. Oh, yeah.
Real speed. But he does make some errant decisions. And I think whether he's draft eligible or not, I feel like if he's going to be an NFL player, he needs another year playing college football at the highest level, at the P4 level. So I think we'll see him come back. Obviously, Ole Miss are in turmoil as Lane Kiffin this week has ditched them for LSU. And so we'll see what happens. New coach could bring in a new quarterback, but I think with how much he's impressed this season, it would be really tough to put him back on the bench.
Yeah, I just, he's one of those players I love. The more I watch college football, I kind of really like that style of player. I think we spoke about like a couple of people on the mock draft show, which you should definitely go check out, the 2027, 2028 mock draft show. So players was like, man, they're just fun to watch, and Chambliss is definitely on that list. And that brings us to the end of this list. Unfortunately, Jack, this has been an absolute blast. You've gone through your first rounders, you've gone through a couple of guys, sleeper players. Unless, is there one more player like, you know what, nobody's talking about this guy at all, and I just want to name drop him before we go?
Yeah, well, I know that you, like I, really like a productive college running back. And so I thought I'd just sprinkle in there Darius Taylor, the running back out of Minnesota. When you talk about college production, this is a guy who has it in bucket loads. He has been the Minnesota offense for several years. He has won many college fantasy football players championships because he is a touchdown machine, and he is a big bruising running back, not afraid of contact. Someone that I see like how Ray Davis is doing in Buffalo right now. I feel like that's a really that's a possibility for a guy like Darius Taylor, someone who can be a running back who stars in a certain role, but has 3, 4, 5 touches a game. And he's so much fun to watch. If you watch his tape, he just flattens people all over the place.
The second person on the mock draft show to mention this name, can you tell me who the first one is?
Was it Phil?
It was Phil, of course. Yeah, it was Phil. He was way months ago now at this stage. Yeah, so he's definitely locked in. I always love thinking you guys are on the same, but maybe not about Michigan State wide receivers, but everyone else, you guys are on the same page mostly. Jack, this is an absolute pleasure. I always ask people working there, find all your great work, Jack, which is going to be a really cool answer, right?
Yeah, you can find all of my work on the Dynasty Hotseat channel, because we have transitioned over to the Dynasty Hotseat Devy show. Me and Phil we go every 2 weeks on a Friday. You will see us on this YouTube channel, so make sure you are liking, subscribing, and hitting those notification bells for this channel.
Absolutely, you don't want to miss any of the Devy shows. Really, by my favorite things to listen to. It's always an absolute blast, and you learn so much. So that brings us to the end of another episode of the Dynasty Hotseat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. If you've not hit that like and subscribe already, please do so. And remember, for anything Dynasty you need to know, keep it locked on the Certified Inferno. See you soon.